Hey, everybody, and welcome to Badlands Media. This is a special interview that we're going to be conducting, me and CanCon, with Tarik Johnson. He is a whistleblower for the Capitol Police. He's a former lieutenant, and he has quite the story to tell. And we are so excited to have him with us today. Make sure you guys are all following us here on Rumble so you can see these special interviews as we do them in live coverage events as they go live. But let's bring him on right away. We're going to lovingly refer to him as TK. TK.
Hello, how you doing today, John?
How you doing, sir? How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Thank you guys for having me on the show.
Brian, how you doing, man? You
Welcome to the show. I'm doing great. I'm excited for this interview. Tarik or TK was on Tucker Carlson a while back and had a nice little interview over there. And I think this is going to be very interesting to dive into some of the inner workings of January 6th and what happened in that building. So yeah, let's do this.
Yeah. Why don't you start with a little background about yourself, TK, and kind of leading up to J6 and everything that went down there. How did you even get into your chosen field of the Capitol Police there?
Well, I guess I'll start from the beginning. I applied for the job in 1999. I'm sorry, 1998. I started working. My first day of the Capitol Police was March 8th, 1999. When I came on the department after training, I was in the Uniformed Services Bureau for approximately 3 years as a private. I took it was basically like a promotional exam to be a special agent. I passed that test, and after that, I became a special agent on the Dignitary Protection Division. I did that for approximately 2 years. And let me go back. While I was on the Dignitary Protection Division, I was assigned to various protectees of leadership, or if you were a member of Congress that received a threat. Senator Leahy was the person I was assigned to. He's a senator from Vermont. I had other assignments on Hillary Clinton at times, Dennis Hastert at times. He was the Speaker of the House, and various other members of Congress. After that, I took the test for sergeant. I made sergeant in 2004 in December. I was a sergeant, and I pretty much worked every division in Uniformed Services Bureau except for the Library of Congress. I was on patrol division, and I took the lieutenant's test, and I made lieutenant in that was June of 2018. I did that for 3 years, and I was there on January 6th as a lieutenant.
Awesome.
So from there, let's kind of roll into we'll transition back to January 6th, but where are you at now with the U.S. Capitol Police?
I resigned. My last day with the Capitol Police was September 23rd of 2022. So I resigned almost, I think it was about 7 months ago.
And what led you to resign?
Because of knowing what occurred before, during, and after January 6th, I could never go back to work there again. Under Yolanda Pittman, I wasn't going to do it.
And who's Yolanda Pittman?
Well, I would have said before this interview, if you would have asked me 2 weeks ago, I would have said former assistant chief of the Capitol Police, but we just recently found out that she is still the employee with the Capitol Police. So she is the current assistant chief of the United States Capitol Police.
And
why did you think she wasn't any longer?
Well, because there was a bulletin out back, I think it was November of 2022, that said that she was retiring in February, and she was going to lead the University of Cal Berkeley's law enforcement agency there. So we thought she was gone as of February 1st of 2023, but she's still there.
And why would she still be at the Capitol Police and at Berkeley?
Well, I'm hoping somebody can tell me that, and we're waiting for Chief Manger. I don't know if you guys saw the interview. I'm sure you guys saw the interview he did when he had to give testimony a couple of weeks ago. And I figured that what we were going to do today is go through that, look at some clips from that, and we can discuss it. I would love to get into that.
Yeah. Do you have the clips, Brian?
No, I don't have the clips from the Manger. interview, but we can talk about that. I mean, we want to focus here mainly on Yogananda Pittman. I think based on the whistleblower reports and stuff that have come out regarding her, and now this new relatively new discovery that she still is employed by the U.S. Capitol Police in order to to get retirement, basically, correct?
That's exactly
Okay.
what is occurring. Yes.
Okay, and so
Just to clarify real quick, so she holds a position at Berkeley, right? Cal Berkeley, the complete opposite side of the country as the DC Capitol, and she is getting a salary there, and she's also on the payroll for the Capitol Police. I mean, not getting a salary, but she's listed there as somebody getting a payroll so that she can build up her retirement, correct?
Well, she's getting benefits from the Capitol Police, yes, not pay. But what you said was correct. She's a police chief on the West Coast and on the East Coast at the exact same time.
Nothing like double dipping, right? And I don't know if Berkeley Police Department, that would be private, right? That's not a government entity, is it?
That's private.
Okay, it is private. So at least it's not like a double dipping into government, taxpayer funding there. But
well, no. She's absolutely double dipping. So don't.
No. She is double dipping, but I'm saying like Berkeley, because it's private, it's not like two taxpayer funded entities are paying her.
That's correct.
Okay, so I mean, she's not getting paid for Capitol Police either way.
Well, no, she's still getting, because she still has benefits being employed with the Capitol Police, because she has medical benefits.
Okay.
That she's getting from the Capitol Police, and I'm sure that all that's still continuing. So she still has a benefit package with the United States Capitol Police, and her, even though she's in a non-paid status with leave without pay, she is absolutely still getting the benefit from remaining on the roll. So she is absolutely the assistant chief of police at the Capitol Police, and she's the head on the West Coast of the University of Cal Berkeley's law enforcement agency there. So she's the Capitol Police on two sides of the country at the exact same time.
Okay, so TK, I want you to just, if you can see the screen, I'm not sure if you could see both, but we have up on the screen now a picture of you here with a red hat, and according to your previous interviews, this was kind of sort of the justification, if you will, for you being put on leave and all that other stuff that's gone on. Do you feel that, well, look, you weren't fired, you resigned, but you were put on leave before you resigned, correct?
That is correct.
And do you feel that was because of this MAGA hat incident that was kind of being talked about, or is there some other, underlying factor to this?
Oh, it's a whole bunch of different reasons. But I'll give you probably one of the main ones is they needed me gone because if you looked at, I can't remember what day it was, but Yogananda Pittman had stated that me wearing a MAGA hat deserved an immediate suspension. Well, I didn't get suspended immediately after wearing a MAGA hat. I got suspended on Saturday, January the 9th, 3 days after I wore the MAGA hat. And she knew I wore the MAGA hat. Everybody knew I wore the MAGA hat on January the 6th. I even called it on the radio that I wore the MAGA hat. I know one of the reasons why they wanted me gone was because they didn't want me telling the story that it was me who ordered the evacuation of the Senate and then the House chambers to get everybody out of the building, because she wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I want to get into that, but first, what was your reasoning for putting on the MAGA hat while you were working there?
Well, I didn't put it on. When I was walking through the crowd, a guy reached over and he stuck the hat on my head. I didn't know if he was trying to hit me or whatever, and then I saw the hat was on my head. And so as I was walking, he requested the hat back, and I asked him if I could keep it because I believe that it would help me kind of get through the crowd. Yeah. The guy asked for the hat back, and then another guy, I think it was to his right, asked me what I was talking to the other guy about, and I said, your friend, and I don't know if they really knew each other, but I said, your friend wants his hat back, and I want to keep it. So he offered me his hat. So the hat that I had on, I believe it was from the second guy who gave me the hat, and the other guy got his hat back, and I kept the hat because I figured that if I needed to go back up the steps to try to remove the officers that I was originally trying to move, it'll make it easier for me to make my way through the crowd. So that's why I kept it on.
Sure. Okay.
Brian, we should get into like some of the Senate stuff and why, like who ordered the evac and why it wasn't why it
Well,
was you and not anybody else?
let's kind of build up to January 6th here first, because in order to understand what happened at the Capitol on January 6th, you have to kind of understand what previous inaugurations, excuse me, not inaugurations, previous joint sessions for electoral counts, what they've looked like from your experience as a Capitol police officer, other protests at the Capitol compared to the preparation and everything that went into January 6th. So if you want, TK, I'll give you the floor to kind of talk about the buildup leading up to January 6th compared to other events.
Well, it wasn't really much buildup. We didn't get any information. Nobody told us that it was going to be what it was. I didn't even know, from my vantage point, how many people would be there. I thought it was going to be a nothing day. I thought I would come in. I even planned on leaving early that day. And like I said, I wasn't even assigned outside. I was assigned inside as the routine operations commander inside of the Capitol. So that was my job, making sure that everything was good in the building. The building that day was closed to tours were closed. There was no routine business that day. So I just figured it would be a kind of an in and out thing. There was no intelligence that concerned me that I received from upper management. I thought it was going to be nothing.
And by comparison, I mean, you've been there for 22 years, you said 23 years,
23 and a half. I did. Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, in that course of time, you've seen probably 5 or 6 electoral counts certified at Congress. And
well, I'd been there, but I didn't see, I wasn't in the Capitol for every single one, but when it comes to major events, when you had the counting of the electoral votes and at the exact same time you had a demonstration that was going on outside, so you would think that you would have had more people. Yes, I would have thought that we would have had more people there. Absolutely, knowing what we know now, we should have had more people there.
Well, how come you guys didn't know that the crowd was going to be this size? I mean, it seems like looking back in hindsight at the time and all the steps that were leading up to this, there's a lot of discussion amongst a lot of the heads, like, Chris Miller at the Department of Defense. He even authorized DC National Guard. You wouldn't do that for a situation where you weren't expecting many people. But regardless, for such a highly politicized event to be coming up, it seems strange that the DC Capitol Police didn't seem to be aware that something big might be coming.
Well, we did have people aware that it was coming. They just didn't tell the people who needed the information. So Yogananda Pittman, her shop, the information came from, so she had the information. She just didn't push it down to anybody. And I'd love to know why. And she hasn't answered that question as of yet.
Wait, so she had the intel.
She did.
That this was going to be bigger, like this wasn't going to be nothing. There was going to be a good crowd there. But
I believe some of the intel said that if the Capitol was actually going to be taken over. I forgot the number of the actual report, but yeah, it was a report. I believe she received that report on, I think it was an FBI report that she received December 21st of 2020. And in that report, it stated that January 6th was going to be a big event and it was going to be a dangerous situation, which would include violence. She had that report and she decided not to send it to, I guess, anybody. I don't think she sent it to anybody.
I think the report you're referring to is the 21 TD 159.
That's exactly what it's called. Yes.
That sound right? And
yes.
Some of the things I believe in that report, according to the whistleblower, are things like forget the tunnels, get into the Capitol building, stand outside Congress, be in the room next to them. They won't have time to run if they play dumb. If they don't show up, we enter the Capitol as the Third Continental Congress and certify the Trump electors. Bring guns. It's now or never. Do you know, and I know this is kind of off the wall, but do you know if anybody ever investigated the IP addresses that these comments came from?
I have no idea.
I was reading through them earlier and some of them seem a little bit, well, we'll leave that at that. But TK, I want to talk, like, In the experience that you've had, not just in the electoral counts, have you ever experienced a crowd that loud in DC and especially, around the Capitol in your jurisdiction?
Um, I would say this. That is correct. And also in my entire life, I've never experienced and had to deal with a crowd of that size on January 6th.
How did it compare in terms of the security posturing by the Capitol Police? How did it compare to previous events that you worked for or worked at?
Well, I mean, as far as inside manpower, it was what it was. We had our post staff for the most part, but when you talk about what was going to actually occur that day, it should have been like an all hands on deck event, and it was not an all hands on deck event. And the reason it was not an all hands on deck event because the people who needed the intel didn't get it. Now, we had several inspectors, deputy chiefs. One of Yogananda Pittman's interviews, I don't know if somebody can grab it or we can look at it later. She said during the her testimony, she said that something to the effect that had that information been disseminated below, it wouldn't have changed our posture. So that was one of the I don't want to say lie, and I'm not going to say she lies, but I would say she leads people away from the truth. Let's go with that. So now, if you say that you have an intel report that says what it said, and you just read some of it, and you pass it down to the deputies on the Capitol Police that I work for, because I know these people, if you would have sent that information to them, it would have absolutely sparked some meetings in our office, and we would have said, "Whoa, look at this! Did you see this? What should we do? We need to have more people here." It would not have been what it was, and all she had to do was attach a couple of names on that and hit send, and that whole day would have been different if she would have just put those names on that email and hit send.
Now, go ahead, John.
Well, okay, I want to go back to this report here. Let me share my screen and put this up now. Brian, this is the report you sent in the private chat. This line right here kind of blows my mind a little bit. It should be noted the great job the analyst of the IIAD. They literally had the information provided on January 5th by the FBI on December 21st. So the Capitol Police, they're saying, had the intel that this was going to be something big back on December 21st. This document was the most critical piece of intelligence information as identified in the Senate report in the OIG report. However, this information was never shared. Actually, 21 TD 159 document was never provided to anyone, and the information was never used to update the assessments actually provided to everyone. What's your understanding of whose responsibility it is to get the National Guard involved? Does that come from the Capitol Police as well?
As far as the National Guard, I don't really know. That's not my purview. But I can tell you this. Okay, you had that report. I forget the number again, but you know what the number is.
Yeah.
Okay, that report on December 21st, December 21st, 2020, it came to Yogananda Pittman, so she has that information. Okay, so now she's looking at that information. She doesn't send it to anybody. Now, we have a chief of police. That was Stephen's son. She doesn't give it to him either. So now, if he could somehow, by the grace of God, get his hands on this report that she had, he would have made sure that we would have had the staffing that we needed to have. But he can't do that if she doesn't give him the report. Now, she is an assistant chief, but she is the chief of that unit. So it stops with her. Anything comes out of that shop that's going to be disseminated to any of the other bureaus, it's going to have to come from her approval. And she didn't send it to anybody. She didn't give it to her boss. That's the question that she needs to be. That's one of the 152,000 questions that we need to ask her if we can figure out a way to get her in a chair.
I kind of want to add on to this one more time, Brian, then I'll let you interject here. But this is from Christopher Miller. This is from back on January 4th. This was his memorandum where he was making available the DC National Guard for the DC Capitol Police specifically for this event. Okay. Then an article came out here from the Military Times. This was right after on January 7th. And it says right here, simply put, the National Guard only shows up to DC when they have been invited. And the Capitol Police did not extend that invitation until after the breach, according to a source with knowledge of the process. and there's been a lot more information that's come out on this, but if they had the intel beforehand, they didn't disseminate it, and then as the thing was ongoing with the National Guard available, they didn't bring in the National Guard to help you guys until after it was pretty much already too late. And then you couple that with your scenario of we haven't really gotten into this yet, but we can now if you want. You were the one that evacuated the Senate chamber, right? And you were calling to get other people to help or to get the go order, but nobody gave it to you, right?
Well, you can call it calling, you can call it begging. But yes, I was trying to get permission to do that before we didn't have another chance to. And I understand, and I knew it then, that Yogananda Pittman didn't really have much operational experience. So I tried to even give her a hint minutes before I even called for the Senate evac. And I say something to the effect, we need to start thinking about getting the people out before we don't have a chance to. So I'm telling her minutes before I call for the evac. And then at approximately 14:28 is when I called for the Senate to be evacuated.
Okay, I actually have that police radio. You said 14:28?
Yeah, that's 2:28.
Okay. I know that. Come on, you know.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
No, I'll get that pulled up, John, if you want to keep going here for a second.
Yeah, well, it's just remarkable to me when I look at all that together. Did you get the feeling that they wanted you guys to fail? Like they wanted the Capitol to be breached? Because I mean, one of these instances, okay, yeah, maybe people just weren't doing their job, but this is like it's a compounding effect of multiple instances where people didn't do their job repeatedly from leadership down. And I mean, it's heroes like you. What you did was heroic to get people out of there. But why were you even forced to do that in the first place? Why did you guys not have help when you had the intel beforehand? Why did everybody wait till afterwards?
That's why we need to get Yogananda Pittman in one of these chairs so we can ask her that question. I mean, because like I said in one of my previous interviews, there's only two reasons. Only two. Is either that she wanted this to happen and she was implicit, or she's just extremely incompetent and scared. There's only two reasons.
All right, TK. I think I have this queued up at about the time when you make that call. So just give me a thumbs up if you can hear it, and let me know if this sounds familiar to you.
H208. I have an unsecured window in a room that has members in it.
So that was H208?
Correct.
Any units that responded H208 at
It's
the time?
7187.
7187. Go ahead, sir.
Guys, they're inside the CBC right now, heading towards the House and Senate steps. Atrium.
I copy, sir. CBC door has been breached. Protesters heading toward the House and Senate. At this time, 14:32 hours.
405 J. John.
Go ahead, sir.
405 J. John.
405 J. John, go ahead.
We're sending people out the Senate door. We need to establish an area where we can send anybody on the Senate floor.
Can you pause it there?
Yep. Now that's
Okay,
you,
now-
407 J. John.
Yeah, I'm for. Yeah, whenever you hear 405 J. John, that's me. Okay, so I want to talk about that last transmission when I said I was sending them out the Senate door. So now I had already issued the order to evacuate. Now I can't see what's on the east front. Yogananda Pittman is in the command center, so she's looking at everything. She can see the people on the west attacking. She can see the people on the east. She can see everything. So she heard me say, well, you know what? I'll take it back. I can't say what she heard. I believe she heard me say, I'm sending them out the Senate door. She won't even tell me that TK, the east front is compromised as well. Don't send them out that way. She doesn't even say that. So my guess is that she won't say anything, because if she answers up and says, TK, don't send them out that way, then that means she knows the evacuation is happening, and then she can't say she didn't know it was happening. And if any member of Congress gets hurt, it's all on me, because I was the one that made that order to evacuate, and she would have hung me. If a member would have broken a toenail on the way down the steps, if he would have closed his finger in one of the doors while he was exiting, my career, my life may have been over, and she would have hung me to dry. But since it was successful, she basically took the credit. And I think if you look at the Senate J6 final report, it basically said something to the effect of her saving democracy. So she's the hero of January 6th. And if you were on the ground and you were an officer that day, you know that's a lie.
Now at this point in time, TK, how long had you been making an effort to try and get permission to evacuate the Senate?
It may have been the first call. You could probably go back maybe 10 minutes before when the first thing I say, because we can even go back further than that. And, if you have some time one day, you can fix yourself some dinner and you can just relax and you should listen to that entire transmission. But when the Capitol was breached initially, I ran into the inside of the Capitol to make sure everything was secure. And the way I felt like, it was over. I said, this is going to be over. I even called my wife during the attack, and I basically said to her, the Capitol's been breached. Don't know if I'm making it out of this, but I love you. And I said goodbye. And then I can't remember if it was a few minutes before or after I made that call, but I called on the radio and I say something to the effect. I said, the Capitol's breached. We have hundreds of demonstrators in the building. We need some direction. What do you want us to do? I'm begging for help and I'm being ignored. And if any law enforcement executive agency could probably listen to these tapes, look at the videos of actually what was going on in the Capitol, around the Capitol, there's no way, I don't believe any would say she did a good job on that day. Because if you have one of your lieutenants in the Capitol trying to help people and he's begging for help, you can't ignore me. You got to do something. You have to say something, and she wouldn't do it.
Now, you were one of 2 ground command officers?
No, it was a bunch of us over there.
Oh, okay. I thought you and the other lieutenant that's now pretty notorious with that. I thought you guys were one of 2 that were in charge of the Capitol floor, like inside.
Yes. One was I was the routine operations commander of the Capitol itself, and he was in charge of the House chamber area.
Okay, and by he, we're talking about Lieutenant Byrd.
Yes.
Okay, and Lieutenant Byrd, for those that don't know, that's the officer that shot Ashley Babbitt on the house. Now, I mean, if they had been evacuated properly, would that even have happened?
Not a chance.
Let's go back to, you brought up your wife a minute ago, and we were talking, we've been talking a lot about this absolute failure of the intelligence being handed down to make sure that you guys had the proper resources necessary to secure the building. Your wife is also a police officer, right?
She's retired now, but at the time she was an officer. And like I said, I called her. She was at home when I called. And she was on administrative leave. She wasn't hurt. She wasn't disciplined. She was basically on stay at home and we'll give you a call if we need you to leave.
So I just want to make sure that this is crystal clear. Like, millions of people, they were expecting at least 1 million people. I think it was probably closer to 1.5, 2 million overall coming to DC. Okay. People knew, I mean, the authorities had to know that they were not the very happy people. They were not very happy with what had been taking place in the country over the 2 months prior to this. And their response to that, and granted, we can't say this in a broad spectrum, but your wife was put on admin leave without injury, without requesting it, just put on admin leave.
Yeah, they were, I guess they called it COVID leave. I can't remember what they called it, but they just tried to stagger people so we wouldn't have too many people together. But in a situation where you're going to have 1 million people coming to the Capitol, you're going to have people storming the Capitol, you probably want to have as many people on deck as you possibly can have. And that didn't happen for us. But the people who would have scheduled the people to come in didn't have the intelligence that Yogananda Pittman had, because I guess, I don't know if she ran file cabinet, but she didn't send it to the people who needed it. Because I know the people on my department she passed that information down, regardless of whatever she said, it would have changed our posture had they had that information. You can ask them. Yeah. You can ask Chief Son if he does an interview. If he had a report saying that the Capitol was going to be a target and people were going to be hurt and crushed, would you have a couple of extra bodies at work? I'm pretty sure his answer would be yes. I'm pretty sure if you asked any of the deputy chiefs. You had J.J. Pickett, you had Timothy Bowen, you had Sean Gallagher. If you ask any of those people, if it was up to them, would they have extra people at work for the event? Yes, they would all say yes. It would have changed our posture. Now, I have heard that Sean Gallagher had that information as well. And I will say this, and I'm not defending him, but if he gives any of that information out without Yogananda Pittman's approval, then he'd be on the rack and moving furniture like me.
Sure. I have a kind of want to take another direction here. I want to show you a video here. Have you seen the Tucker Carlson releasing some of the tapes from J6?
No, I've never seen that. I never even heard of Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, I just want to get your opinion on this, because there's two different narratives that have kind of been taking hold right now. It's the narrative that we've heard since the beginning, that this was
an insurrection.
This massive insurrection, and everybody there, and I think you could even acknowledge that if this was truly an insurrection where 1 million people were going to try to take over the Capitol, they would have completely taken over the Capitol, right? There were two distinct crowds. There was agitators and people that were being violent, and then there was people that were kind of innocent bystanders. That's how I would describe them. But in this video, this is what appears to be QAnon shaman or whatever, the shaman guy.
Jacob
walking
Chansley.
through, what was that?
Jacob Chansley.
Jacob Chansley. Yep. He's walking through the Capitol here, and it almost appears as if the police are escorting him. And I don't know. I would just like your take on this, like, because this, how did he get in there? How did he get this far? Why wasn't he stopped? You know,
it'll be tough for me to comment on this one because I don't know what time this was. I don't know what happened before. So there's a lot of information I don't have about that. So there was a lot of research I would have to do before I could comment. To be fair to both sides, I just don't have enough information.
Sure, but I mean, what this looks like is the police. I mean, and this could have been some of your coworkers at the time, colleagues at the time, basically escorting him around the Capitol. And again, my mind is still blown of the fact that they had intel beforehand, didn't disseminate it. They had the opportunity to get the National Guard there before it happened, didn't do it. They had that Chris Miller authorized that on January 4th, and then nothing happened until after it had already taken place. And you see videos like this, like, is there a possibility that leadership wanted this to happen and almost helped this happen? I know.
Well, I wouldn't say leadership, because I can't lump every single commander that we have on the Capitol Police with Yogananda Pittman. So, for all intents and purposes, you have the Capitol Police leadership and you have Yogananda Pittman. So there's two different structures, in my opinion. You have the structure of Yogananda Pittman and the rest of the leadership. Do I think the rest of the leadership knew this was going to happen? They didn't have the intel report.
Yep.
The intel report came from Yogananda Pittman's shop. She is the assistant chief, but she was the chief of that unit. She had that information. She had it.
Let's talk about that, because she had this information. Now, for people that don't understand how the Capitol works and the Capitol Police works, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, you guys essentially have 4 members that are like, I guess you would call them like a board that kind of vote on this. 3 voting members and then a 4th member that's a non-voting member, and that would be the chief of Capitol Police. That's the non-voting member, correct?
Correct.
And then the 3 members that vote is the sergeant at arms from the Senate, from the House, and then the architect of the Capitol.
Correct.
Obviously, the sergeant at arms are reported by the majority leader for each, respectively, and the architect is appointed by the president, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure. Now, there was a meeting between 3 out of those 4 individuals prior to January 6th. Am I right?
As far as now, I can't confirm that, so okay. I don't know.
Okay. Then we won't go there, because I was under the impression that there was a meeting and Sund was left out from that meeting.
I think Sund was left out of. I know he was left out. There was a meeting. I believe it was on January 4th. I think that was like the final intel assessment, and I don't think that Yogananda Pittman. I believe she was there, and she didn't invite Sund to that meeting.
Okay, and Yogananda Pittman has somehow, like, I'm trying to wrap my head around this. If Sun requested this intel from Pittman, she could not give it to him. Like,
well, no, Sun would have to know that there's intel
okay,
to be given to him, and that's going to come from her shop, you know. So now, let's say, for argument's sake, there was going to be a demonstration on January 6th, and people would believe that this is the last opportunity to keep their president in power. Let's say that happened 2.5 years ago, and intel is coming from that. Oh my God, officers are going to be killed. People are going to storm the Capitol. There are maps of subways, and you don't give it to the chief, and you don't tell him that it exists. How can he plan for it? He can't do it.
and even then, still, he was still requesting. Sun had requested the National Guard several times leading up to that. Still, and so who would make that call? Like when Sun when Sun
focus on identifying the security failures.
What is that?
Oh, sorry. You saw my screen shared.
Oh, no worries, no worries. So when Sun is requesting that, is that like, why didn't Pittman chime in and say, you know, there could actually be something to this?
I'm sorry, say that again.
So when Sun was requesting the National Guard, I think up to 6 times is what's reported. Why didn't Pittman reinforce this? Why wasn't that intel handed over there? I know I'm purely speculating here, or asking you to speculate here. And has there been any investigation into Pittman specifically to get this type of information out of her?
No, not to my knowledge.
And have you been called to testify at all?
No.
I mean, you were, like I said, you were one of 2 people, well, not one of 2 officers, but one of 2 that were in command in an intricate manner involving this. And you still haven't been called by that J6 sham committee or anybody now that the GOP has taken it over and they're talking about releasing all the footage and accountability and all this. You still haven't been called in to testify.
Well, I would say, to me, if you ask me what I think that the Republicans now, after they took over, I do think that they are trying to dive in and figure out what really occurred on January 6th. After January 6th, there was a committee established. That committee was called the J6 Select Committee, and they never asked me to testify.
Unreal. Did you get a chance to so there was this, I'm going to share my screen here just to show you what I'm talking about here. So Ivan, he's the one who kind of helped us connect here and set this up. And there's this interview here up at Capitol Hill. Have you had a chance to watch, explain kind of
yes.
what this is and what's going on with this testimony?
Fair and factual.
Go ahead, TK.
You want to comment on that?
I think he's letting the video play.
Yeah, I have the sound off. I was just going to let it play a little bit, but I wanted to get your comment on it, and if there's any parts of this that you think would be worth actually like watching specifically.
I would say the entire thing, and I would say over and over. But I would love to comment on it if you guys want me to.
Yes, please, absolutely.
All right, so basically, what you have, because I know maybe I don't know if a lot of your listeners or viewers have actually watched this committee, but they really should watch it. So let me give you the sum total of what came out of the interview. So basically, we find that that right there is Chief J. Thomas Manger. He's the chief of the Capitol Police, and basically he brokered.
One question: is he above Pittman or below Pittman on the food chain?
Technically, he's above her, but after we see this illegal deal that was brokered, we really don't know who's in charge. But anyway, but yes, she would have 3 stars. He has 4 stars. So yes, he's in charge. Okay. So I guess I'll continue. So he basically it was one of the members of Congress asked, is Yogananda Pittman basically still employed with the Capitol Police? And we find out she is still employed in an LWOP status, which is leave without pay. And they had to pull it out of Manger, trying to see if that's still a benefit to her. Now, when I'm listening to this, all the other Capitol Police officers are listening to this, they know it's a benefit. So he finally had to say, yes, it was a benefit. Yes, she's benefiting from this. So basically, in that hearing, he says that he didn't consult anybody for the approval of her being on LWOP. So that tells me that Yogananda Pittman basically came into his office, explained to him that she wants a deal to get out of town. She has a job offer in California, and she wants to take that job offer, but she wants to remain on the books with Capitol Police for some more months so she can get her full retirement, and that actually worked. That's what she did. Now, I'm going to tell you, Manger said he approved the deal, and he said that it was the best thing for the department. And I'm normally a diplomatic guy. If you look at my Twitter, if you look at some of my tweets, you can tell I'm pretty diplomatic, but I can't be for this. Now, when Pittman walked into his office, because he already said that it was nobody above him, basically, he didn't talk to the board, he didn't talk to anybody, he made the deal himself because he felt it was the best thing for the department. So when she walked into the office to ask for this illegal deal, Manger is supposed to pull his skirt down and tell her no. You are not supposed to give her the deal she got. He was supposed to tell her no, and he did not do it.
Why do you think that is?
I know that Yogananda Pittman is a scary person. I know she's a very powerful person, and I know she has very powerful friends. But as the chief of police, you have to stand up to her and tell her no, and he couldn't do it.
Can you give examples as to why she's scary? I mean, why do people fear her? What are they afraid of? I mean, I know you're in a unique situation here where you're kind of speaking out against her. And what are the ramifications of that, being a whistleblower against her?
Well, there are a lot of ramifications. And I would say I'm trying to I guess I really can't at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and say it. Okay, she has powerful friends. Her friends have friends. So she is powerful. So, and I equate this to, and I was telling somebody this the other day, to rich people. And sometimes there are people who are extremely rich. You have never heard of those people before. Like, for instance, Mark Cuban. Nobody ever heard of Mark Cuban until he bought the Dallas Mavericks. Same as power. Now, Pittman is one of the most powerful people in this country, and people just didn't know until now. So even though you never heard of a Yogananda Pittman, she was already powerful already. You just are now finding out about how powerful she is because of January 6th. And if you listen to the audio tapes, you look at the fact that she didn't pass the intel down and how she performed on that day and the things that she did to people after. How does she survive that? You can't survive that without power, and she has it. And when you go, and I'm gonna go back to the chief, and I want to go back to the brokerage of that illegal deal that he was supposed to say no to. Now, because he didn't say no to that deal, he is supposed to immediately go and explain to the Capitol Police officers that this is why I did it. Because if you go back and look, I think it was March the 7th, and it was after the first day that Tucker Carlson aired his show. Chief Manger put out a letter saying basically how disgusting Tucker Carlson was because he wanted to jump right on it. But I haven't seen anything with him jumping on his interview that he did explaining that he gave Yogananda Pittman an illegal deal. Why didn't he do it after that? Because there was no reason for him to do that deal. Basically, what he basically did was when she came in there and she probably put her feet up on the desk like Richard Barnett did in Pelosi's office when she asked him for that illegal deal, and he said yes to the deal. He basically, and there were other points in that video, he basically showed that he was Junior Soprano. That's basically what he did.
If you got the time here, Ivan suggested we should play the first 11 minutes and 30 seconds of this video, and you can interject it with commentary as you can, but he says it's absolutely massive and explosive. So are you good with us playing this video?
100%. I'm going to have a sip of water while you play it.
Go for it.
Barry Loudermilk. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chief, thank you for being here. As chairman of the subcommittee on oversight, I'm focused on identifying the security failures leading up to and on January 6, 2021. As I've reviewed the records from the former January 6 Select Committee, I have more questions than answers related to Capitol security. For example, in a recent court filing, several federal law enforcement agencies, including the FBI, DHS, stated that they had plainclothes officers at the Capitol that day, as did Metro Police Department. Today, I'm sending a letter to the Metro Police Department asking for more information about the officers that they had at the Capitol that day. They were wearing plain clothes, as would be expected during a major event. If they had prior threat intelligence to send officers to the Capitol that day, did they share that with Capitol Police? And if Capitol Police was aware of serious threats, why weren't they prepared? The many post-January 6 after-action reports made clear we did have the intelligence, but there was a clear failure by U.S. Capitol Police leadership, specifically at the Intelligence Division, to disseminate that information. Instead, our frontline officers were left on.
Okay, he said we had the information. Yogananda Pittman had the information. So they shouldn't lump the we up, and I promise you, the people in our intel section, the officers there, to include the other officials there, they did their job. They gave Pittman the information. They can't make her disseminate the information. So you can go ahead and play it.
Prepared. This isn't a political issue, and I'm sure my Democratic friends are willing to engage in a fair and factual assessment of the leadership failures at the U.S. Capitol Police during January 6th. I'd like to submit for the record a transcript from a recent news interview with former Capitol Police Lieutenant Tarik Johnson, who had repeatedly pleaded for help from the department leadership over Capitol Police radio frequencies, yet he was met with silence every time. Without objection. His fellow officers heard the radio, so where was U.S. Capitol Police leadership when officers pleaded for orders, direction, and assistance? After taking action into his own hands and getting members of Congress to safety, instead of receiving recognition, he was demoted. Meanwhile, other officers and employees of the Capitol Police have been allowed to write books, make media appearances, and work with members of Congress to influence legislative activity. It's clear our officers were failed by some in leadership that day. There must be accountability so it never happens again. During a congressional baseball shooting, which I was there, I was on the field, the Capitol Police after-action report of that event was nearly 40 pages long, and it involved only 2 Capitol Police officers. But the after-action report following January 6 was less than 30 pages and involved virtually every officer in the Capitol Police. Can you explain how the disparity there? I mean, it would seem to me that we would have volumes of after-action report.
There were over a dozen after-action reports related to January 6th, and they specifically talked about intelligence failures, leadership failures, equipment failures, training failures, planning failures.
Were these Capitol Police originated reports, or are you talking about the reports from the Senate investigation and the Republican investigation? Which reports are you referring to?
Well, I'm actually referring to the Inspector General reports and the other after-action.
Can you pause it?
Done.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, let me tell you what Manger won't say. Okay, now, an effective after-action report would be people who were involved in the incident, not from people wearing suits who weren't there. You're supposed to bring in the officials, and you're supposed to get what was wrong and what could have been made better on that day from them. And then the officials are going to go to the officers to ask them the same questions and have them write certain things. That report should have been massive. And he knows the answer. He just won't say it. You can go ahead and play it.
And is the answer? I mean, they're talking about intel, and they still haven't brought in Yogananda Pittman, and that's like the intel from a Capitol Police perspective falls entirely square on her shoulders.
100%.
Okay, keep going.
Internal after-action reports?
Yeah, I mean, the only after-action report that I have seen from the Capitol Police was a 28-page report. It was very vague. Yeah, I just want to make sure that we're not missing something that we're looking into. Also, I want to thank you for working with our subcommittee and providing us with the radio recordings from that day. I think that'll be helpful in us in getting a better handle on where things are going. Were these recordings, and these are the radio transmissions from that day, were they provided to any other congressional committee, federal agency, or any other entity, to your knowledge?
I think that they were provided to Department of Justice for the prosecution of cases and they may have been provided to the defense attorneys as well. But I would have to check to verify that. I know that the video was provided to those folks for the related to the criminal prosecutions of cases.
Yeah, and if you could follow up with us in writing, or that would be fine. I appreciate that. Does the Capitol Police have a media policy? And are you aware that one of your officers wrote a book about January 6th, and a civilian employee is currently advertising on their Twitter page that they'll be releasing a book soon after her experience on January 6th? I don't know if you were aware of
I'm
those.
aware of all the, yes, we do have a media policy, and I'm aware of both of those books.
I mean, are they in violation of your media policy? I guess
So-
first question.
In a word, I don't believe they are. Now, we are looking at both of those books and to
Can you pause real
ensure
quick?
that they,
Okay, he says he doesn't know if a book is being written, and he doesn't know if it violates the policy. You knew the book was coming. You should have already looked it up. You should know that. I believe you have to know that answer. You're the chief of police. You have to know that answer.
Oh, did we lose him? I think we lost TK.
No, I'm here.
Okay.
Oh, you froze. You froze there for a minute.
Okay.
Okay. Am I
You
good
can
to
go
keep playing?
ahead. Yeah,
Okay.
you can go ahead. You hit play.
We have about 7 minutes left to get through the first 11 minutes, and then Ivan sent over 2 more timestamps about the illegal dealing. So we'll get to those 2 after we get through this.
I got all night.
Awesome, man. Me too.
they don't run afoul of any ethics violations or any other policies that we have. It's for folks personnel that are over at a certain level, at an executive level, there's a different set of rules. They're more
Okay.
stringent than folks that are not in the executive leadership.
Would it be possible you could provide those guidelines and rules
Yes.
to our committee? I appreciate that. Are officers and employees required to report outside income earned from the book sales or any other employment they may have?
They're required to get outside employment approved by the department. I don't believe that we look at the money that they make from their
Okay, so
outside
if somebody does have other employment, they have to report that.
employment. Have to report that, and it has to be approved by the department. Yes.
Okay.
We have received reports that after January 6th, some U.S. Capitol Police officers made reports to the Inspector General related to leadership failures on that day. Many of these officers were highly critical of the intelligence and interagency coordination division's leadership. Are you aware of these complaints?
I am.
And claims have been made that after making their criticisms of the intelligence and interagency coordination division's leadership known, the former IG turned over the officers' testimonies and names to the U.S. Capitol Police leadership. Shortly after, these individuals were placed on performance improvement plans, and then they were either fired or forced to retire. Are you aware of the previous leadership of the U.S. Capitol Police taking these actions?
I'm aware that complaints were made and that those complaints were investigated by the Inspector General.
According to reports made to this committee, an employee in the General Counsel's office contacted the officers who spoke to the IG. Do you agree it was really unacceptable for the U.S. Capitol Police's General Counsel to take information from the U.S. Capitol Police's Inspector General and then retaliate against officers who spoke to the Inspector General?
Anybody who's retaliated against for speaking to the Inspector General that should not happen. But I know that the Inspector General and our Office of General Counsel do work together on certain complaints that are made.
And that would be complaints made by members of the U.S. Capitol Police?
Once they're investigated and any action that's going to be taken as a result of the investigation, IG and the Office of the General Counsel have a role to play in that.
But prior to the Inspector General having done their investigation, you would agree it would be improper for the General Counsel to have any input into the complaints or into the investigation of those complaints?
Not knowing more specifically what action that would be, it's difficult to say that they absolutely would not have some role if they were providing information, helpful to the investigation.
All right. But the General Counsel's job is to be a counsel, not a witness, correct?
That's correct.
And they are a counsel to the United States Capitol Police leadership team, correct?
Correct.
And if they're counsel for the United States Capitol Police leadership team, isn't it just inappropriate on its face for them to be involved with the Inspector General on an investigation prior to the Inspector General completing that investigation into conduct that has been raised as a complaint by a member of the United States Capitol Police?
I don't know why they would have any input prior to the investigation be completing. Once it's completed, I understand, but prior,
And I
I don't know
understand.
what
So you would agree with
involvement they
me
would
that that
have.
would be inappropriate behavior?
in general, yes.
I mean, I can't imagine any situation. Can you imagine a situation where that would be proper? I can't.
Depending on the investigation and what the question was, I would never say never, but I'm agreeing that generally it would not be appropriate.
All right. Under your leadership, would you ever allow that to happen in your department? You've indicated you didn't think so, but you might.
No, that's not what I said. What I'm saying is that I would ensure that the integrity of every investigation, whether it's by the Inspector General or whether it's done by my Office of Professional Responsibility, those investigations have to be done fairly, accurately, and with integrity.
Chief, do you agree that there was a
Can we stop
intelligence
it right-
failure on January the
Can we stop it
6th?
right there, John? TK, can you talk about the retaliation and the fear among officers about speaking out against what happened on January 6th?
Retaliation is real. It's been like that since I've been there. So okay, now let's talk about Chief Manger. So he knows he's not going to say, "Oh no, yes, there was retaliation." He's not going to say that. He's going to say that there were accusations made that retaliation occurred. He can't say, "Oh yes, I do know people retaliated against people, and this is what I did," because he didn't do anything. So this is also the exact same man. So let's talk about January 6th. After January 6th, after that day, Nancy Pelosi came and she screamed for Chief Son to resign. So Chief Son resigned. Yogananda Pittman took over. So we learned over those months of the horrific intelligence failures that occurred from her shop while she was the chief. Because she became the chief, I think it was January the 8th. And then I think Manger came in, I think it was July 24th of 2021. So during those months, the rest of January, February, March, April, May, almost things were coming out daily almost about how much of a failure this was intelligence-wise. Yogananda Pittman was in charge of intelligence. We know that she did not forward the people the reports that she needed to forward them. So we know that the failure was all her. So now, this is what Chief Manger did. When Chief Manger took over as chief, do you know what one of the first things he did when he became chief? He put Yogananda Pittman back over intelligence. Do you know why he did that?
No idea.
I'm going to tell you why he did that from my vantage point. He did that to let people know that we do what we want to do. You are not going to speak about Yogananda Pittman because she is now your boss again. So you need to shut up. It was a message, is why he did that. Why would you put her? It was one of the biggest blundering failures in the history of our country, and she made it, and you put her back over the exact same unit? It was a message.
It's remarkable.
Yeah, and you said Pelosi was calling for the resignation of Chief Sund. We've talked about the biggest failure on January 6th from the Capitol Police perspective, in your opinion, is the intelligence, correct?
That's a fact.
Okay. And so you have the Speaker of the House, whose appointee, the Sergeant at Arms, the House Sergeant at Arms. You have them in the meeting on January 4th, the interagency meeting, talking about intel and all that. Chief Sund is left out of this conversation.
Left out, not invited.
Not invited.
Not invited.
The chief of the Capitol Police is invited.
Of the United States Capitol Police was not invited.
And Pittman was invited.
Oh, of course.
And Pittman was invited. So you have, on one hand, you have Pelosi calling for Sund's resignation, who called for the National Guard at least 6 times, or at least I think that's what's claimed. 6 times he called for National Guard reinforcements prior to. And then you have this interagency meeting on January 4th between the board members minus Sund and Yogananda Pittman. We have whistleblower reports and other people who have spoken out, yourself included in this, who have said intelligence is the biggest failure of that day. And Yogananda Pittman failed upwards. Not only is she back in her position, she just got a cush job out in UC Berkeley, I think it's Barbara Lee's district, out in Barbara Lee's district as a chief of police, making far more money than she was making as the chief at U.S. Capitol Police. Do I have that right?
That is correct.
This is wild. This is wild. If people don't see what's going on with this.
Yeah. And I don't know if I told you guys this, but I don't know if I told you guys this, but after Manger took over, I might not have said this. Yogananda Pittman was put back over the Intel division. I said it all. I just wanted to make sure you guys heard me. They put her back over there again. It was a message. There is no message. Have you ever heard of the saying actions speak louder than words?
Yep.
That's what that action did. And the Capitol Police, and some of us know, and I know the Capitol Police, because they're watching this right now too, and they're gonna be like, oh God, no, that's not what we did. But yeah, you can wave to them. But they would do certain things like, and they can say whatever they want. I would never, I stopped filling out those surveys that they would send online. They would send you to our department email surveys. What do you think about the department? It's okay if you whistleblow. What people have done wrong, and this is totally anonymous. So I look at it, I ignore it. A week later, TK, you have not responded to your anonymous survey. I'm like, what the heck? If it's anonymous, how do you know I didn't respond? That's another message. The Capitol Police gives you messages all different kinds of ways. Manger putting Pittman back over intelligence was a message to let people know that you need to shut up. Also, another message, when our union president, Gus, he held a vote, and it was a 92% no confidence vote in Yogananda Pittman. The message was this: no matter what you do, they made her the chief, and she continued in that fashion until Manger came and took over. The vote did nothing. That was a message to officers to say, listen, doesn't matter what happens. We're going to let you know you can vote. It could have been 101%. We're going to put who we want, where we want, is a message to officers. And make no mistake about it, the Capitol Police is like the mafia. You don't admit the existence of this thing. You just don't.
Do you have any comment on the raid of Nels or Loudermilk?
I don't really have. I don't really have the information on that. I know that when it came to Nels, I think that he found some people, or somebody found people in his office. And when it came to Loudermilk, I believe that the department or someone said that he brought people in to, I guess, surveil the Capitol. So I guess they could penetrate maybe the subways or something, but I don't really know that much about those cases.
I want to play a clip here before we get back to the hearing. This is kind of breaking news. I believe this just came out today. This is from Just News, John Solomon. It's about a 2-minute clip, but I think it's pretty worth it.
All right, let's roll to the tape. You guys have been waiting for this since last night. We don't want to tease you any longer. We're going to cue up this tape. Let me just set the moment. It's the moment that the Capitol Police decided to evacuate Speaker Pelosi and the leadership through Congress. They're going through a secret hallway. They're going to be blurred out, but you're going to see something. Nancy Pelosi and her daughter, Alexandra, turned the escape route into a Hollywood movie set. Let's start rolling tape, and I'll show you what you're seeing. This is the beginning of the exit route. They're going down a hallway. You see some of the security detail coming in, and now in a second, you're going to see Speaker Pelosi coming in with her team. She's right there in the middle, and look on the left-hand side. There's her daughter filming, sometimes getting in way of the Capitol Police security detail that's protecting there. Now they're going to come to another camera angle in the Capitol, and you're going to see how the filming continues to go on here. Here they are coming down towards an escalator where they're going to go out through a secret route. You're going to see in a second the entourage coming, and there, once again, is the camera running. This is an extraordinary moment. Let's look at that camera running up. They have to pause there, right? So they don't run into the camera. Now they're going to go up and out one of these entrances that are protected by the police. This is a Hollywood moment. It's like a film crew is watching what should have been a very spontaneous and urgent exit from the Capitol. We're going to see one more version of this a second, just so you can see how Speaker Pelosi turned this into a movie-making moment. Here they are going down another row here, and you're going to see in a second the entourage coming in. There's that camera. Look at that. That's the Speaker's daughter. Look at that. No, they got to watch the wall there. See? You see how the camera's sort of in the way as the security details coming in. This was not the normal way that police evacuate. They don't want cameras in this particular location because it's the one secret route they can get the Speaker out. So you've got a chance to see that. Nancy Pelosi created a Hollywood moment out of this moment of tragedy in America.
Thoughts on that, Tarik?
I don't know if it's really a secret, top secret. I know where they were at while they were walking through there, and it wasn't really that top secret where they were at. You know, it was no bunker. It was no open the big safe, and you know everybody walk in. Like one of those big vaults you turn and you pull open the door. It wasn't like that. So, but I do see the issue is you filming the route, you filming in places where I'm not gonna say you shouldn't, but you really don't need to do that. But
Do you think the narrative of January 6th has been politicized?
I think, of course, this January 6th is a political event, so of course it's politicized.
Do you know what Pittman's, political ideology is? Is she a pro or anti-Trump?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No.
I'd be curious to find that out.
We didn't really have cookouts or anything like that. We didn't hang out. But no, I would suspect that she's not, pro-Trump.
Do you see how hard it is for your lay person, TK, when the only hearing we got, the only investigation we got into this essentially was the J6 committee, which was, the House Minority Leader, Kevin McCarthy at the time, the people he appointed to it were denied, which is unheard of, putting them on there. And instead you get Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger on there, who, might as well have been a complete Democrat panel. But then you have stories like this where Michael Voss is out, Nancy Pelosi's son-in-law is out in the crowd taking pictures with Jacob Chansley before the event, taking very clear pictures, getting both of their faces in it. You have I think it's Alexandra Pelosi walking through the hallways filming this. There's other footage of her filming Pelosi and doing comments and all this stuff to kind of pump this up a little bit. Then you have the Ray Epps thing where just this Jaden X, this John Sullivan guy is just constantly around him. The day before when he's saying, go into the Capitol and we got to go into the Capitol, and Sullivan's right over his corner, over his shoulder. And then the next day he's walking through there and he's saying something to the, I think it was the female CNN reporter, see, I tried to tell you everything was going to be fine. Like, how can people look at this and not just completely throw their hands up and say WTF to this? This is wild. But I know I just kind of went off on a rant there after seeing that. If you have any comment on that, I'd love to hear it, but I know that's
I can comment on anything and everything. And now I'm starting to, it's hard not to really give my opinion on stuff. And I've been trying not to do that, but I guess I'm moving in a different direction. So I do want to add my opinion a little bit. The whole thing is politicized. But the worst thing about politicizing this is it's distracting from the issue. What is the issue? The issue is that we had a commander on January 6th who failed us before, during, and after. And it's distracting from all that. We have to focus on, because she is eligible to retire in days. So now the focus should be getting her in a chair, because there are some things that there are many questions that she needs to answer. And that should be the focus. It shouldn't be the focus of, was January 6th a picnic? Was it an insurrection? We know it happened. We saw what happened. There's videos of it. What we need to do is to ensure, and I think everybody will agree with this, that it never happens again. So to figure out how for it to never happen again, you have to figure out what happened. So regardless of whatever you want to classify it as, classify however you want. If you believe it's an insurrection, I could care less. If you believe it was a picnic, I care less. Let's find out what happened and how that insurrection happened. Let's find out how that picnic or love fest happened, because we don't want another insurrection or another love fest. Let's figure out how it happened to prevent it from happening again. And you know what? That starts with Yogananda Pittman. She is the alpha and omega to figuring out what occurred on January 6th.
And what's the significance of her still being in the position? Like, once she's out of the Capitol Police completely, how much more difficult does it become to get her in front of Congress?
Oh my gosh. her power grows now, like I told you, and people are going to have to do their own research because I can't tell you, we have limited amount of time, so I can't get into everything, and some things I don't know. But she is one of the most powerful people in this country. Her power grows after her birthday and when she hits 50, because now she gets her retirement and she does not have Manger as her boss. So she doesn't have Capitol Police as her employment because she has her retirement and her annuity is going to be nice. She has that, and she still has all the political influence, all her friends. So she still has everything. And now, even though, like, as far as Manger, he signed and brokered an illegal deal for him. So I don't really feel that confident that he's the guy that can bring Yogananda Pittman back. But right now, she is still his boss. So I said that backwards. He is still her boss. So in theory, he could have her go back to her office and sit there, and then people would know where she's at to give her a subpoena. But if, let's say for argument's sake, she's implicit in this, how willing would she be to testify? So just dodge a subpoena. Go to Italy for a couple months. She has the money, so just not be here. That's what I would do if I was her. So can we expect her to be around after she retires? So I guess that remains to be seen, but we'll find out by next week what happens with Yogananda Pittman because the clock is running out.
Unreal. Let's get back to this hearing.
You got it up?
Referred to as the IICD, correct?
That's correct.
Who is the Assistant Chief of Police for the Capitol for UCSP in charge of intelligence on January 6th?
The assistant chief was Yogananda Pittman.
Was Ms. Pittman promoted to Chief of Police?
She was made the acting chief after the chief was fired.
And you mentioned to Mr. Griffin that you were aware of the serious allegations that were made by officers about the failures of the IICD leadership and the potential subsequent retaliation that was taken against those officers. Is that correct?
I did not agree that there was retaliation against the officers, but I'm aware of the complaints. Yes.
Okay.
Can you pause it?
Ms. Pittman was the head of the IICD on January.
Okay, because now I was at work when I was watching this, so I missed some of it. And I plan on watching it over and over again. I just haven't had time because I work a lot. But he said he doesn't agree that there was retaliation. He has to say that. He's not going to say that, oh, no, yeah, there was retaliation, because we all know as Capitol Police officers that there absolutely was retaliation, and it can be proven if he allowed it. But now, to prove that it was retaliation, Manger has to create an atmosphere where officers feel comfortable to whistleblow. He does the opposite of that. That's why he put her back over intelligence, to let the people know who wanted to whistleblow, you better shut up, because I'm going to make her your boss again. Are you willing to talk after she's your boss again? That's what he did. He's doing the opposite of creating an atmosphere. He's creating an atmosphere not of people feeling comfortable to come out and speak. He's creating an atmosphere for them to fear him and her. Play.
January 6th, and then was made interim chief of police shortly after. She was both the person rank and file officers went to the IG about, thinking that their identity would be protected, and she was the chief of police when those officers were subsequently retaliated against for blowing the whistle about the failures. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Are you aware that federal law prohibits the United States Capitol Police IG form disclosing the identity of an employee without their written consent?
I'm not aware of that, no.
Okay. Is Ms. Pittman still an employee of the United States Capitol Police?
She is on leave without pay and has been since February 1st.
Is she expected to return?
No. Pursuant to a negotiated separation agreement, she left the department February 1st, and she just has no police powers. She has not been paid. There's been no double dipping, but she has
not been paid. Is that you said that she has
Since
not been
February
paid since
1st.
February 1st?
Yes.
Why a leave of absence without pay, knowing that typically a leave of absence in my mind would be grounds for returning to the position after an extended leave? Why is it that Ms. Pittman is being allowed to leave knowing that she won't be returning?
So pursuant to a negotiated separation agreement, she was allowed to go on leave without pay her intent is to file her application for retirement in about 30 days.
Is Capitol Police salaries, are those made public?
I know that those that are statutorily set are, I'm not sure if they are or not.
No problem. Would you be willing to provide the comment in writing about the separation of Ms. Pittman to this committee?
Yeah, I can give you the details of it, yes.
That would be great.
In the thinking back just on January 6th, obviously there was a
Okay, so that's the first 11 minutes, 30 seconds. That's kind of remarkable. I mean, they basically, he's giving the game away here, that she has a leave of absence, but she has a plans to retire after 30 days. And what's after those 30 days? Like, why wait that amount of time?
Because she'll be 50. So she can't go until she's 50.
Because she gets a better retirement.
No, she gets a retirement, because if she leaves, she can't leave before she's 50 without getting a retirement. She has to hit 50, then she can file for her annuity. So he kept her on the book so she could get that. He's totally helping Pittman, there's no question. And then when he talked about, I mean, this is horrible. He already talked about, oh, no, absolutely not. There was no retaliation. It was absolutely retaliation, and he knows it. And he put Pittman back over intelligence. But this goes to even show that Manger cannot lead the Capitol Police anymore. We already know, like I said earlier, he is Junior Soprano. He's going to have to turn the reins over to Tony Soprano, which will probably be Sean Gallagher, until they can find a more suitable chief, because he is not suitable. He is not trustworthy. He has to go.
So just so everybody's clear of this, they negotiated, they had a negotiated agreement where Pittman would leave. She's going to Berkeley or whatever, probably making $300,000 a year.
I think it's 283 or something like that.
Yeah, that's a lot of money, but she's making a lot of money there. But she was allowed to remain as an employee, classified as an employee of the Capitol Police, just on a leave until she was 50, so that she could then file to collect her retirement. If she left before then, she would not get that retirement at all. Now she gets that annuity. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, and I think it's borderline illegal. I think it violates maybe some laws. I'm almost positive it violates house ethics rules. Definitely it violates the Capitol Police policy and procedures. So yes, by doing that deal, and when I tell you, I've been thinking about this daily, what he did. And like I said, if you go back and you look at my Twitter posts, I'm pretty diplomatic. Other than when it comes to Pittman, I am pretty much on her. But when it comes to everything else, I try to stay diplomatic. But I cannot. There's nothing you can do to justify what he did. There's nothing. He can't lead after what he did. Saying that there was no retaliation, allowing her to leave on an illegal deal, not consulting the board. He just did it on his own. And he believes that because he's the chief, he can violate the policies and procedures just because he's the chief. He can't.
And you actually have more time than Pittman in service. Am I right?
I got more time than both of them combined.
You have more time with U.S. Capitol Police than both of them combined. How many months were you from retirement?
17 months.
17 months, and you were put on admin leave. Were you given the same deal to stay on admin leave without pay?
Absolutely not. But I would not, because I'm an ethical human being. I wouldn't have walked into his office to ask for an illegal deal. I wouldn't have done that. I just resigned. And I promise you, if I would have asked for an illegal deal, they would have said, oh my gosh, he's a horrible human being, and they would have put it all over the news. But no, I just resigned and moved on with my life because I don't want to work. I didn't want to work for her for sure. And now I would never work for him.
Do you know how long she worked for the Capitol Police?
I think it was approximately 22 years.
Okay.
But I wouldn't classify that 22 years as work.
Yeah, but she was employed.
She was there for approximately 22 years. Yes.
Let me just read this. This is from the Capitol Police website, uscp.gov. What are the retirement benefits? USCP officers are eligible to receive three sources of income, retirement income: a retirement annuity or pension, which is 34%. I'm assuming of their, averaged out salary or whatever. After 20 years of completed service, and if the officer has reached the age of 50, or you can get 39% after 25 years. But the key thing there is age of 50. So that's what they're waiting for. That's unbelievable.
That's what they're waiting for. And I don't know if I said this, but that deal was more than likely illegal.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know that for sure, but that's definitely something that needs to be
Oh, no question. Yeah,
investigated.
it should be looked at. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I believe it violates a few things, and the powers to be, I do believe that they are going to look at that. Hopefully, Manger won't be there by the time they figure it out, because they need the Capitol Police. They need a real leader because it's not him.
Yeah, if there's been a big hubbub up in Washington the last few weeks about being fiscally responsible. We just passed this fiscally responsible bill or whatever. Doesn't seem too fiscally responsible to allow somebody to remain on a classification of employee just to collect a pension that they shouldn't deserve if they're not still there working, right? Anyway, let's play this next clip.
Squeezed. One of the reasons it's important that we look back is so that we can identify where the failures were and move forward. And our concern is there has been a lack of looking back by previous leadership at Capitol Police. Again, you were not here. You've come on, taken the reins and moving forward. For us to move forward in the right direction we have to go back and look at history. Where did we fail? And there was a failure. There was a failure in being prepared because this Capitol was breached. Where did that failure occur? Why were those officers they did not have what they needed? They were not in the proper position. And I say that there appears that there has been a lack of interest in going back by previous leadership. As we discussed, the lack of after action, what I would think would be an appropriate after action report done by Capitol Police. Yes, there were other entities that did that, but as someone who served in the military in leadership positions, I would be the first one who wanted to look at my own failures and see where did we go wrong. There was the fact the January 6th committee, the select committee on January 6th had a blue team that they were dedicated to looking back, finding the failures and making corrective action. We're the custody of the January 6th documents. We have very little information from the blue team. It's as if any work that they did was suppressed, or it's not existence, or they didn't do anything. What I'm getting at is I don't think there's been a real effort to really look at what happened, not to cast blame, but to rebuild in a way that will never happen again. And that is our goal of the Oversight Subcommittee. It's not to cast blame. It's not to point fingers. It's to find out what really happened, look at that in a constructive way moving forward.
I do want to stop here, just ask a quick question. There's a lot of curiosity around how the building was actually infiltrated. Do you know, or do you have any insight into the magnetic doors and how they may have been breached? I mean, somebody would have had to unlock them essentially, right, from the inside.
Well, I don't want to talk about, even though I'm not there anymore, I don't want to talk about the security issues there and how things work, because I don't want to put the officers at risk,
Good for you. Good for you.
So I don't want to do that. So I can't talk, if I would actually speak to the Capitol Police to see how they would, not Manger, it'll be somebody else, on how to effectively communicate that without releasing any classified information that would make the Capitol more vulnerable.
Okay, and just staying away from even how it could have been done. Do you have any insight into whether it was done from the inside or if it was just breached, just superficially?
Probably the first breach that I heard, somebody breached it, the Senate side, North Senate side. I think it was the Senate door from the outside. That's what precipitated me to go in and try to ensure that all the doors were locked. And that's around that time is when I decided that it was time to evacuate. But that first breach, I believe it was from an exterior of somebody broke in one of the doors, the Senate door, I believe it was.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you. Just sorry to interrupt there. We'll get through the rest of this about a minute.
Take your time.
And with that, the only question I have in the second round here would be, as we do this, as our committee looks at this and in a bipartisan manner, there is information that we would need to obtain. And are you willing to make officers available for bipartisan interviews to help us gain information that we need for our report? Will you make that commitment?
I would have no objection to that.
I appreciate that. And also, just because of what we have
Can you pause it
seen,
real quick?
there's been
You heard when he said no objection to that? He
Yep.
said that when Pittman walked into the office with the illegal deal too. You can go ahead and play it.
and some questions of this. Will you commit to this committee that no employee at the Capitol Police will face retaliatory actions for speaking to this committee?
I can guarantee you that that will not happen under my watch.
Any comment on that one?
You don't want to hear my comment on that one.
Okay.
Already happening, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
There was
exactly.
only one clip of all of that was on the U.S. Capitol Police sensitive list, and it was cleared by U.S. Capitol Police beforehand, after it was pointed out that the same footage was previously released during impeachment hearings by House Democrats without being cleared. And is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Okay, so that was the last. He did send one more about 7-minute timestamp. I don't know if we want to go through that too, Brian. What are your thoughts?
Which one was that? Because I mean, I think we probably should go through, at least start it and let TK kind of jump in on that.
Yes. So this right here is the next timestamp, 28:55 through 35:20. So, TK, you good with us playing this one too?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Chief Major,
I have no objection.
Okay.
A thread that Ms. Bice was asking about in her questions related to former Chief Pittman. Are you aware of the U.S. Capitol Police leave policy in Section 9, subsection C, which says as a basic condition of approval of leave without pay, there must be a reasonable assurance that the member or civilian employee will return to duty at the end of the approved period?
I am aware of that. This was a negotiated separation agreement.
So was that a decision that you made, or did somebody else make that decision to make that negotiated
I
agreement?
signed off on the decision.
Because you're responsible for the leave policy?
I'm responsible for doing what's best for the department.
Okay. I need to pause.
Okay,
This is remarkable.
okay, I'm gonna tell you what's best for the department is for him to resign. Okay, now, and let me explain why. I'm not trying to pick on J. Thomas Manger, but when it came to the retaliation, you know it happened. And even if you don't think it happened, why would you put the exact same person and leave her over intelligence? That's number one. She came in, obviously, we know about the deal that you gave her that at the very least violates house ethics rules. We don't trust you. If I'm an officer there, I just don't trust you. So yes, the best thing to do, yes, it was. I do agree with him on one thing. Yes, it was the best thing for her to be gone, but I think he needs to follow her.
What's remarkable right here is he's asking Manger about the policy of police, and he just admitted that he's the one who negotiated and signed off on whatever deal is in place right now, allowing her to stay in for another 30 days. When was this hearing, by the way? Do you know?
No. That deal was made months ago when they made that deal, probably between November and February. My guess is probably November when they announced their retirement. So she walked in there. He didn't, from what he said, his own words was that he negotiated the deal himself. That tells me that it didn't come from anybody above. No congressperson, no person on the board told him to make this deal. Pittman walked into his office and said that I want this deal, and he says yes, because either the only excuse or the only reason for me is that he was just afraid to tell her no. And like I said earlier, he has to pull his skirt down and he has to tell her no. I'm not going to give you this illegal deal. And if you go ask any of our former chiefs, would they give a deal like that to her? And he says it's been done before. No, it has not been done before. I have never seen a person asked to be placed on leave without pay, not injured. She wasn't on administrative leave due to any discipline, to go leave for a job making almost double that you were making. That has never happened before.
It's a payoff. That's what this is. But here's the thing, though. When was this hearing? Do we know?
I think it was a week and a half, 2 weeks ago.
I
Okay.
think it was
So,
like May 16th, I think it was, but I'm not sure of the exact date.
okay. So about another 2 weeks or so until what he said was 30 days when she's about to retire after her birthday. But let's I'm gonna press play again here. But this part is huge, guys. This is where they're talking about this agreement. So make sure we're paying attention.
John, hold on one second. TK, while she is deputy chief of the department and chief of the intelligence shop right now, and she's on leave, who's actually running the intelligence shop?
I have no idea.
I mean, this is pretty big. I mean, they put chain link fence around the Capitol, non-penetratable, fence, temporary fencing around the Capitol for almost a year. And the biggest blunder in history in terms of intelligence. And we have nobody running intelligence at the Capitol right now.
Well, somebody's absolutely running it.
But
Maybe
not the deputy chief, though, that's supposed to be tasked with running it.
No, obviously she's not, because she's in California, Berkeley. So no, they have an act in there. I'm assuming. I don't know who it is, but it's somebody there. I could find out in about 5 minutes, but somebody's running it.
Okay.
So Mager, he's in charge of the Capitol Police. Who does he answer to?
The board.
And who does the board answer to?
Congress.
Anybody specifically in Congress?
I don't know the inner workings. I know that the speaker would be a pivotal person that would have influence over the board.
Okay, so
Maybe it could also be maybe I think the oversight. I think there's a Capitol Police Oversight Committee as well. So it would be a couple entities, but it's absolutely Congress.
Okay, so I mean that's interesting to me, because this guy, he's the top of the food chain of the Capitol Police, but he takes orders from somebody. He's on that board, or they're the ones that make the decisions, and they refer to Congress, right, or defer to Congress, I should say. I mean, I'm curious where congressional leadership plays in this, with everything that went down on January 6th. I mean, is it possible to know if was Pelosi or Schumer, were they aware of a deal like this? Did they have any say in this deal? I mean,
he said no. He said it.
Believe him.
Yeah, but I promise you though. Now I would love if somebody could find this, because I tried for hours to find it. I'm not that good at finding videos, but when Manger first got the job, and this is when I knew we were in trouble, he said, I totally support. He did I think it was a television interview he did maybe the first week he got the job. He says, I support Pittman. I want her to remain here. And he gave his total undying love and support to Pittman. And I knew we were screwed once I watched that video. Somebody has to find that. I can't find it. I look for it periodically, and it's been like almost 2 years. But if somebody can find it, please send it to me. But no, if I don't believe that anybody, I'm gonna go with what he said. Let's just go with what he said, that nobody above him pressured him to broker that deal. That just tells me that you are afraid of Yogananda Pittman. So if somebody above you presses you to give Yogananda Pittman the deal, then that means you can be compromised. So either way, I don't want you as my chief.
Yep.
And also you lied as well. So that makes you a liar under oath.
Yep. Let's let me press play, and we'll keep rolling through this and see what else they get into.
What benefits does Ms. Pittman get for being on leave without pay?
She gets no benefits for being on leave without pay.
She doesn't get any enhanced retirement or any other benefits?
No, she will be able to she'll be able to apply for retirement benefits in about a month.
But there was no enhancement. I mean, what does she get out of leave without pay?
The ability to apply for retirement benefits in about a month or so.
That's
so
a benefit.
Does benefit, even if it's indirect. I mean, couldn't she have done that if she had just retired early, or if she had? I mean, so she's getting a benefit from having been designated.
She's eligible to retire in June, so she is able to retire. Yes.
Would she have gotten a lower benefit if she had retired at the end of January?
I'm not sure she would have been eligible at that point.
Well, if she left without being leave,
again, guys.
Yeah,
he's
I
a
would say please pause that. Okay, he's not sure. He knows she won't be eligible because he knows she can't retire until her birthday. So he knew it. It was no, I'm not sure. He knew it.
he just acknowledged it. He said, "I'm not sure she would have been eligible."
He
to
knows she
receive
wasn't
the benefit."
eligible. He knows she wasn't
Exactly.
eligible. Yes.
Exactly.
It's
That
like
is,
she's not eligible and I brokered an illegal deal is what he needed to say.
this is nuts. Let me keep playing this here.
Without pay, would she get retirement in June for the year she served here or not?
I don't believe she would have.
So she's getting a substantial benefit by being on leave without pay.
She is eligible to retire in June.
And that's a substantial benefit to her. And that's in violation of the Capitol Police Board regulations prescribing unified leave system for members and civilian employees of the United States Capitol Police, is it not?
It is not if it's a negotiated separation agreement.
Where does it say that in here?
Well, it doesn't say that in there, but we've done this, but it's been done before.
It has not been done before.
And you're aware that she took another job February 1st, are you not?
I am.
And if we could submit for the record an article dated December 5th, 2022, announcing that Ms. Pittman, Chief Pittman, is now the chief of the UC Berkeley Police.
Without objection.
Thank you. Did anybody else participate in that negotiation?
Chief Pittman's attorney.
And you and the general counsel?
Correct.
The Capitol Police Board was not involved?
No.
You can pause it.
Yep.
Okay, so now that means her attorney was there. I think he said, was she in the room? I can't. I'm assuming she was in the room. Him and the general counsel that probably would have been Tad Tobias. So you can go ahead and play it. That's the head of Capitol Police General Counsel.
All right. Let me go back to my original line of questioning that I was asking in regard to the officers who had raised concerns, and there were some issues whether they were retaliated against. If you remember, I know it's been a while, and you asked a lot of questions since then. But the officers who had concerns with leadership, and they brought those to the attention of the IG, the Inspector General, were any of those concerns incorporated by the Inspector General for the U.S. Capitol Police in any of the flash reports, yes or no?
I don't believe they were, but I think they came afterward. And if I could just ask a clarifying question, when you say officers, are you talking about sworn police officers? You're talking about just because my impression was
I'm talking about rank and file members of the United States Capitol Police.
I'm sorry,
I'm talking about rank and file members of the United States Capitol Police.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you pause
will
real
make
quick?
Available to this committee.
It doesn't matter who was retaliated against. If they're a USCP employee, you don't retaliate against anybody. USCP employees, whether they are sworn or not sworn, retaliation is bad.
100%, man.
By the end of next week, all communications between the previous Inspector General and his staff and the U.S. Capitol Police.
All previous communications between the previous IG.
Inspector General and his staff.
With regard to what?
With regard to complaints made by officers about January 6th.
If I have the authority to release those, yes.
All right.
Okay, he has the authority to broker, so he has the authority to broker an illegal deal, but he doesn't know if he has the authority to do that. You can go ahead and play.
Whether or not you have authority, and I know this is a little bit grayer area, that would be the same question, but including General Counsel's office. Because we're trying to see if the General Counsel was involved in some of these issues when they ought not be, before your watch.
Again, as you know, when we're talking about General Counsel's office, that's a different.
I understand.
Standard.
Can you assure me that you will give us everything that you can?
That I am legally permissible to do, yes.
All right, I appreciate that. We'll probably follow up with that in a written form so you know exactly what I'm asking for.
Chief Manager, another point of clarification. There's been some comments here that the January 6th footage being provided to news organizations, and the implication is that Speaker McCarthy providing it to news outlets is somehow different than the impeachment managers making the same video public. However, those same impeachment managers actually posted these on YouTube. So it was publicly available, then used in other news programming. With that being said, I'd like to pivot to one other issue. And former Speaker Nancy Pelosi's daughter, Alexandra Pelosi, who had filmed an HBO documentary with clips showing the escape routes of congressional leaders on January 6, including Fort McNair. Did any of the footage in Alexandra Pelosi's documentary show sensitive areas of the Capitol that you would say should not be distributed publicly?
But there were certainly things that in the documentary that I was surprised to see. But my feeling is that, while that may have been shown publicly, I still have a responsibility for the video and camera video we have to ensure that security sensitive information is not released.
Do you know if, did she get prior permission from the Capitol Police to film and release the footage?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
Okay, that's everything that we had discussed. And it is kind of funny because he was the one that was throwing a fit about the release of the tapes, yet doesn't care about Pelosi and those tapes. Doesn't seem to have any issue with that. So
yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. Anyway, man, this has been a great interview, very eye-opening, and I think, like, what can we do next? What can we do to help as we start to wrap up here?
I would say just
let me throw this out there because I know Tarik, excuse me. I keep saying Tarik because that's what they were saying before. Tarik, I know he won't do this, but if you guys want to help support Tarik as a whistleblower for doing what he did, yeah, we have his Give, Send, Go set up. He won't ask for this, folks. This wasn't even set up by him. This was set up by a friend. GiveSendGo.com/TK Johnson. GiveSendGo.com/TK Johnson. Right now, you went from on the brink of retirement. You left before, while put on leave, you left because you couldn't stand to be put back in the situation where you worked for this woman again. And now I think you told me you're moving furniture and working security on the weekends. So
yeah,
7 days a week.
I work 7 days a week. I'm scheduled for 7 days a week. I actually got hurt. And so I haven't been working the security job because I hurt my foot pretty badly, but it's getting better now. I'm pretty much, I'm cleared to go back to work, and it's been rough, but like I told everybody, there is nothing, I wouldn't change anything that I did. I wouldn't change leaving, going back to work, and I could have returned. I was cleared to return back to work, but to be quiet about everything I know about January 6th for another 17 months after coming back and being suspended for 17 months, I was not going to do that. It was time for me to speak.
Amen. So what would be, we had a hearing last week about whistleblowers. What would be, and where they basically, the FBI whistleblower came out and said, don't do it. The government will crush you. What would be your inspiration to other Capitol Police officers, other interagency officers that want to blow the whistle on what happened?
I would tell, now this is tough because I wasn't expecting this question, but I do want to jump in this for a second. I learned a lot over the past 2 years, and there is no glory in being a whistleblower. And believe me, people do not like whistleblowers because when you're blowing the whistle, you're obviously blowing the whistle on somebody more powerful than you. And you really have to evaluate what you can take and how much financial of a hit you can withstand, because it's going to cost you money on every single front. For me, I have a strong support system. My wife did retire, so that helps us. I have the ability to work. I can do anything. Like I worked. I was a nighttime stock clerk for a grocery store for over a year after I got suspended to help pay for some stuff. I got the job moving furniture. I took that job because it gives me federal benefits. And I got the security job on the weekends to make ends meet. I'm still not making what I would have made at the Capitol Police, but life is not about money. And I was not going to allow myself to be on the wrong side of history, because at the end of the day, I think that I will be gifted by God after all this is all over. But I did the right thing. And one of the things I told people, that my daughter would say, this is what my daddy did. and he stood up and he did what he had to do. So I would tell my Capitol Police brothers and sisters, I would tell them they don't have to come out in droves right now because I've already done it. And if we don't get a leader, if somebody you should also go take a look at my my Twitter page, because I discussed there's a assistant chief vacancy out. I guess they're going to wait till Pittman goes before they fill it, because I guess that person will be taking her spot. We need leaders who will create an atmosphere for people to feel comfortable to come out and speak. Until that happens, I would not advise you to come out and speak. I know that may sound hypocritical, but everybody is not built the same way. Some people can't. Some people may be the sole providers of their household. They can't afford to take that kind of a hit and get another job, moving furniture or something like that. Some people can't withstand it. It's hard for me, but some people are in worse. They take care of elderly parents. Some of their kids are sick. So you would have to evaluate your risk if you can handle it. But I would say I would stand down and just let me keep taking these punches. And I will give you my opinion publicly when it's safe to come out. But you're going to have a change in leadership for the Capitol Police. When it comes to other agencies, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be the same way, because the people, when you are with an agency, you know what kind of leaders you have. And when you have the Yogananda Pittmans, when you have the J. Thomas Mangers, you can't come out and speak and not come out unscathed. So you need to be careful, and you need to tread lightly until the department gets better leaders who will defend people for doing the right thing. But it's not there now, so they have to wait.
Wow. Yeah, everybody, we encourage you to go support Tarik, TK. It's you again. Brian said you're not going to talk about this, but we have heard you've taken quite the financial hit from this. So that's what they do. Money is unfortunately a powerful thing, and when they can
I will talk about it. I'll talk about it a little bit. A friend of mine called me and he says, TK, he says, because he knows what the financial situation was that I was going through, and he says, you are in this fight. He says that you need to continue the fight, because now, and I'll say this, it's not about money. Because it's been J6 for me for the last 2.5 years. That's all I talk about. If you ask my friends, all I talk about is J6. Even before I came out and spoke, that's all I spoke about while I was suspended. It's all about J6. It's all about getting justice. And that's why I left, because I couldn't be quiet anymore. But whether I get $1,000, whether I get 200,000, it doesn't matter what. I am not leaving this fight, because there are so many people devoid of justice, and I can't sleep until I've done my part, and I will do my part until the day I die.
Good for you, man.
Amen.
We're praying for you. The Badlands community is a pretty supportive community, so I hope to see you guys all contribute what you can, if you can, to help Tarik here. And guys, I got to run. We have the Trump Town Hall going live like right now in a minute or so, and I want to make sure that we are covering that on Badlands Media. So for those in the audience, make sure you hop on over to the next stream. Anything else, Brian?
No, that's all I got. I mean, I'm sure, Tarik, we'll get you back on again, here in the future to talk about this a little bit further, but we definitely appreciate what you're doing, and thank you for coming on and telling this story.
And I'm going to keep doing it, because like I said, I'm going to fight for justice. Our country is not where it needs to be. We're the United States, but I say this all the time. We're the United States, but we're not united, and I'm going to do my part to get us there. And thank you guys for having me on the show.
Absolutely, sir.
Man. We'll have you back again.
Oh, wait. Where can people find you on Twitter?
Oh, shoot, I don't know. I have a Twitter handle. So how do I let people know? They can just put my name in there. I'll pop up, and they'll be able to see my face. So just put Tarik Johnson in there, and I should pop up.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, Tarik.
All right. Tarik, thank you so much, brother. Appreciate everything you're doing. God bless you.
Thank you very much, and you guys have a good one.
Thanks, you too. Take care, everybody. We'll see you over on the Trump Town Hall.
Hey, John, do you want to go start the town hall and I'll close this out? I'm going to go through the Rumble Rants.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah,
I'll catch you later.
All right, go ahead. I'll see you tomorrow morning.
Yep.
All right. So go ahead. While John's going and getting the Trump rally going, I just want to run through some of these Rumble Rants because we definitely appreciate that. So best non-IE ever said, first Rumble Rant, thanks for all you guys do. Thank you so much. N320J6 Elliot Ness. How does Lieutenant feel about seeing Jacob Chansley being casually escorted to the Senate chambers and then persecuted with extensive jail time for having been peaceful with Chansley seeming set up for it by the USCP. We did get a chance to ask that. We tried to integrate some of these questions as we went through. So another short segment of J6 footage was shown today on John Solomon's show. We got that. Razor sharp. Thank you so much. MTG on Solomon's show said they were going to arrest 1,000 more people. Yeah, that's kind of been the tone they've set for a little while now, that they're going to arrest a lot more people coming up. So, that's not really that's surprising, unfortunately. ESADMF says, thank you, Tarik Johnson, for bringing us the truth as you know it. Yeah, God bless him. Poso for hope. God bless this officer, true man of character and honor. Warrior Mima, awesome guest and interview, John and CanCon. This is important info. Thank you. N320J6 Elliot Ness. What assurance has Speaker McCarthy given you, Lieutenant getting truth out? You have remained confident in this. What is it that that provides you those assurance confidence? He doesn't have any assurance. He's completely free and clear of the Capitol Police at this point. So Critter64, does LT Johnson have a Give, Send, Go? Yep. We talked about that. GiveSendGo.com/TK Johnson. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to run through these. I want to make sure we show the appreciation because, the Rumble rants are what kind of keep us going here. ESADMF, black pillars in chat can kiss my ass. Hey, there you go. Nobody likes a black pillar, but sometimes you got to get it. DS Nod 70, Badlands Media, bring in the fire. Thank you so much for that. And I think there were a couple more here at the bottom. American Patriot Relief, Tarik, a true patriot to America, standing on truth even to the point of death. I mean, for sure, persecution, and suffering and everything else that he's had to go through. So, God bless him. All right, guys, that's it for us. Thank you guys all so much for tuning in for this special coverage, the interview with Tarik Johnson. If you're watching on Gateway Pundit or any other restream, we restream this out to a bunch of different places. Jump over to rumble.com/Badlands Media. Give us a follow. Give us a thumbs up on this video and jump over to watch the commentary on the Trump town hall going on right now. And I will catch you guys all later. So again, thank you guys all so much for tuning in. And we'll catch you guys next time.